Hi, my name is Jessica Tuma, and I will be your host tonight for Meet the Artist, the program that highlights local artists in our community of Maplewood and South Orange. And tonight we have two great artists. First, we have Sybil Archibald, and we also have Thea Clark here with us today. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming today. And each of you brought one piece to show to our audience, which is, I think, each symbolizes how you interpret your experience. I believe that art is is one way to communicate your experience to others and a message that you want to convey to others. It's a way to communicate. So let's see, Sybil, you have this piece of art. What is it called?
This is called Beethoven Listening to God's Heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very, very inspired when I read Beethoven's letters. And he has one letter to his brother where he talks about how much pain he had because he was losing his hearing, how he couldn't even hear a shepherd in the field playing a pipe, and how he wanted to take his life, but he didn't because he knew that he had something, God had given him a gift of this creativity, and he wasn't going to die until he had done his job and brought everything forward into the world that he was supposed to bring forward. And I've had my own challenges in life, and as everybody has. And when I read that, I thought, this is something for everyone to know. If he can go on when he lost the most vital thing, or what we think of as the most vital thing for a composer, if he can go on, then I can go on, and anybody else can go on. It was just very moving to me. And I wanted to capture the pain, but I also wanted to capture the transformation in that thought, that my work is designed to give a healing experience to the viewer, so that it's not just you're not just looking at a pretty image, you're looking at something where the energy can actually transform you. Because I'm very influenced by early alchemists and a lot of people think that early alchemists wanted to make gold, but that's not really what they wanted to do. What they wanted to do was purify matter. And they felt that when they purified matter on the outside, they were purifying themselves on the inside. And so I feel that artists do that when they work, when they struggle with their materials and they face the challenges of their work. They're actually on some level healing themselves, and that energy is captured in the piece. And if you're lucky, and I don't know if I've ever achieved this, you capture enough of that energy so that it moves and changes people when they look at the piece.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that we all want to do in life, no matter what it is, whether it's art or I think part of what makes life difficult is trying to figure out what our purpose is. And it's so fortunate for each of us to find and to discover what it is. And for both of you, it seems that art, and it's figuring out, which medium to work with and which message you want to convey, and the inspiration that you received, and then all the work and the hardship of being an artist. It's difficult. It's difficult because it's not like the traditional, 9 to 5, it's kind of like, it's the salary job where, everybody tells you, go to school, do this. That structure that so many people kind of like feel that they need, so they just do what society tells them, and they're kind of afraid to have the bravery to do what they want to do.
Well, it's interesting because Thea and I have very different ways of working when you talk about the way that you're going to present, and I really admire the way that she works, where she plans, things. And
I do and I don't. But I think you spoke to experience and translating one's experience. And, whether one has a full-time job and out of necessity, like so many of us do, the fact that you are compelled to still express something, to still be a filter for your experience, to translate it, to somehow communicate. You are some kind of storyteller in a way, with your work as an artist, that, maybe you're going to have to do it at night or on the weekends or in between, whatever your other life responsibilities may be. But it does take an enormous amount of perseverance and bravery, and I think that those are things that you only develop by doing it, by facing that difficult task when you have to make that difficult decision. Do I do this or do I go back to my work? Do I do this distracting, restful thing or do I do the thing that might be challenging for me? So, which sometimes the artwork really is. So I'm thinking about young people I know who have maybe made some tough decisions and didn't pursue the visual arts in school, went in a more practical direction and now feel really pulled. But I think all of the experience that we have as people ultimately feeds into your work. So there really are no wrong turns in life. Right. You draw from everything. So I would just want to offer them hope and encouragement that just keep going, just keep going and make some time for your work, and your life, as you're feeling about it grows stronger and your art practice goes stronger, your life will start to accommodate it. It is a compulsion for a lot of us, right? But real life has its demands as well. But without my real life, my work would be very different. If I didn't have my other work experiences or my other responsibilities, I wouldn't probably make the work that I make. So I think it's important to live your full life and let your work be a reflection of that. Not feel like you should be someplace other than where you are.
I need to learn that.
I need to remind myself of that from time to time. It's human nature. You always think the grass is greener.
It's very easy to get overwhelmed by the details of everyday life,
Yeah.
but the way that you've said that is really encouraging. That's good. I'm going to remember that. I'm overwhelmed.
And I think now more than ever, a lot of people with all the different things that are available to them, not just wood, clay. Some people may not have access to those mediums, but they're finding other ways to convey their messages or their inner voice through internet media, through just recording themselves saying how they feel about a certain topic. I mean, I think that in itself is a form of art in a way, because they have the inspiration to stand up and say what matters to them, something they want to express themselves in a way that could encourage others, and they're speaking from their experiences. It's like, I think art is all about sharing. It's about sharing your victories and sharing your defeats with everyone and inspiring others. And I mean, Sybil, you drew inspiration from Beethoven, and he had his victories and his
defeats, but I don't. I mean, I know I said I try and make a healing experience, but I don't make art for anybody else. I don't think about other people. I mean, that's my goal, but then I set that aside and I just let it go and just make what comes to me. So I started making Beethoven because that's what came to me, and then I said, okay, I have to learn about Beethoven.
Yeah, you mentioned that about another period.
So Beethoven, just the idea of this person, and then you went and researched his life.
What happens is I start a piece, and all of a sudden I know that's who it is. I don't know going in. I started and I know, and sometimes I really know all about the person. Sometimes I don't. Beethoven, I know the basics,
Right.
but I got a book of his letters and I read everything. When I read that letter, I said, this is why I'm making him. This is it. But I think it's something that disturbs me about art these days is sometimes it's all about other people. It's all about responding to what other artists have done, or responding to media, making some kind of a statement, a political statement, this, that, the other thing. And it's not that there's anything wrong with that, but to me, true art is really a conversation, the artist with themselves, or with the creative force, the inner artist, and if it affects the other people around you, that's like bonus points. But it's more about, for me, it's more the relationship of the artist to the capital artist, capital A artist.
I think sometimes when artists are addressing personal issues, it can end up being political without their really realizing it. I mean, Robert Mapplethorpe was doing very personal work. He took photographs of the things that he was drawn to, and it became very political. They wanted to withdraw funding for places that wanted to show his work because of its subject matter. So,
but he started out as personal, and like I said, it may become political afterwards, but he wasn't doing it
starting with a political
to be.
intent.
He wasn't doing it to draw attention to himself for that particular purpose. He
needed to make that work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when people do that, then there's something true about the work and deep about it that's missing from work that's made just for other people.
Okay. We need to go for a break right now, but just stick around, and we'll be right back with Sybil and with Thea.
Once you're hit by a train, this is the size of bag that we'll use to collect what's left of you on the tracks.
It was a horrible tragedy that could have been averted if we had just stayed off the tracks.
I don't want to have to be the one that has to go tell your parents that you're dead.
Make the right choice. Stay off the tracks.
Hi, welcome back to Meet the Artist. My name is Jessica Tuma, and I'll be your host tonight. And I'm here with Thea Clark and Sybil Archibald, and we're here to talk about art and what inspired them, and we're also going to be talking about the Soma Artist Studio Tour in a little while. Okay, so we have Thea's piece here, and Thea, was this a piece that you were telling me about, the new venture you were getting into?
Yeah, this is definitely, this may look small to some people, but it's a departure for me. I come from a background of working in wearable size. But this piece is part of a group of work that is ongoing, that is under the title of The Quick and the Deep. And I am using materials that are very common, that are often overlooked. You may not know it at first, but the white here is actually acoustic ceiling tiles that we normally see stained in various ceilings around the state. And I was inspired by this really ugly material and how it reflects sort of the breakdown of our habitat, as it does with its stains from the oxides from the pipes that leak. And I've been really influenced by my experience of the weather and the change in weather since I've been alive, but really over the last 2 years when, as we all know, we've experienced some really extreme storms, and there was a lot of emotion involved, I think, for everybody, anticipating the storm of the century coming back with Irene. Little did we know that Sandy was yet to come. So the work incorporates other materials as well. The blue here is kind of being carried over from a previous body of work I did. It's actually cyanotype, which is a photographic process. It's like sunprint, if you've ever laid a leaf on a piece of paper and that has chemicals on it and put it in the sun and then you rinse it and it turns blue. This is that same process. And I've used photographs of trees and bark, and in one of them it's an image of maps of high and low pressure systems over the ocean that foretell the coming of storms. So I'm using these materials to kind of capture a feeling of energy and change and sort of an explosion, if you will, or an opening up of the environment in a way. So it's work that reflects my experience, that I'm hoping people will look at it first as just an abstract piece, but then when they come closer to it, they may have a different reaction to it when it dawns on them that this is a very familiar material to them and it's being used in this very bizarre, different kind of way. I'm hoping that that'll jar something and make them feel like, oh, this is something domestic and from inside, buildings, and here it is being portrayed as something very different. I'm trying to capture something.
And you mentioned that you used to do, that your focus before this venture was wearable art,
Yes,
jewelry.
yes, I still do make jewelry. That's been my background for a very long time. That the most recent body of work that I did incorporated this cyanotype material and pink plastic. So the pink and playing off of the blue, really capturing masculine and feminine and what is the nature of identity, and some of the images that I used, the cyanotype images would play on that theme. And that work has kind of become a signature body of work for me. I've had a lot of images in books, and I was fortunate enough to receive a fellowship from the New Jersey State Council of the Arts that was based on that series of work. So, but my work is always a process, that focus of work that was based on identity. It's not completely done, but I'm moving in another direction. Whatever happens in my life influences the things that I want to talk about, the things that are moving me, and my materials. I am completely flexible with my materials. I don't feel I have to work with something simply because I have always done it or I'm comfortable with it. In fact, sometimes I feel like I need to get away from the things that I'm more comfortable with, because then it's easy for my work to become kind of pat or slick, as some people would refer to, when your craft gets too easy, it can become like a quick thing to do. Mm-hmm. And so for me, changing the materials has made the process more exciting.
So you find that the challenges makes it more almost fulfilling? You're saying because if you stick too close to the comfort zone, it seems that it's like almost like
it's repetitious.
Yeah.
I'm easily bored. That's the bottom line. No, it's part of it was I really wanted to challenge myself to work with this really, what I think is truly an ugly material. I mean, I have I respond to those ceiling tiles. I really hate them. And that's a challenge that I wanted to take on. Like, can I take something that I have that kind of visceral feeling about and transform it? And but it has to be transformed along what the idea is. For me, there's an idea and a feeling, and then that's tied together, and then there's the intuitive part of the making. So the idea, the feeling, the making, they all work together.
That almost goes back to the alchemical process that you were talking about, Sybil, almost, yeah.
It does, but you plan your work much more than I plan my work. You
Sometimes.
come over and you have drawings, and I can
Sometimes.
never do that.
But you know
I
what?
admire
it's,
that.
You know, it comes from working in metal, because when you're working in metal, you need to be able to, metal is precious, and you don't want to waste it. So you get used to kind of making some sort of plans. But part of me really just wants to throw plans out the window. So that's why I love
You'll get there.
Yeah.
If that's what you want.
Okay. Wow. The artist studio tour, that's happening very soon.
June, what is
June 2nd, it's always the first Sunday in June. And it's going to be a great, great tour this year. Everybody has new work and very exciting work. Thea will have work from the series, right? And I'll have all of my sculptures from that series. There are 8 in total right now with pedestals. Not all the pedestals are done, but they will be by that time. And a lot of the other artists, there's so many talented artists in our community. It's amazing. And the community is so supportive, and it's just a great, great opportunity for people to come out and see, the best that this town has to offer.
Yeah, I think it's fun. Also, you get a lot of people are showing in their studios, which a lot of artists have them in their homes. And it's nice to have kind of a behind-the-scenes view of, hopefully they don't clean up too much, because it's always more interesting to see a little bit of the creative mess.
Which reminds you, I still owe you footage from a studio arts tour from last year. I think a particular woodworking artist, I can't think of his name right now, but I still have to get that footage.
I'm sure he'll be happy
got
to
a little
get it.
reminder.
To-do
Because
list,
he
but not
did,
to-do
yes,
list.
for my to-do list. Let's see, so now, Sybil, some of, not the Beethoven piece, but your other pieces that have the pedestal, they're on tour right now?
They're all in a
They're
show,
all in show.
in Metuchen at Nails in the Wall Gallery. And the show is called Windows on Heaven and Contemporary Icons. And so they're contemporary looks at, of icons, traditional icons. There are different takes on that. And there's actually an artist talk coming up on April 7th, which should be very interesting.
How many artists are in that show? Do you know?
I think it's 5 or 6. It's a great show. And I always, I don't think of my work as religious at all, but there is a deeply spiritual aspect to it. And it was interesting to see my work in and among this sort of more religious work, because when I see it in my house with the more traditional, with the less traditional, the abstract paintings, it looks very different than when you put it in among icons.
Context.
It really changes things.
And Thea, let's see, on your blog, there was information about
An upcoming show.
an upcoming show.
Yeah, I have a piece that I made that was accepted into a show that is going to be taking place in 2 places. First at Museo Franz Mayer, which is in Mexico City, and then at a gallery in San Francisco called Velvet da Vinci. And it's a show called La Frontera, which means the border. So it's wearable art, jewelry, that is communicating something about how borders unite as well as divide.
Right.
And so, my piece is on its way right now.
I saw her piece. It's awesome.
Okay, I think we should leave our guests with some information on where they can read more about your work and everything about you. So, Thea, what's your website or way that
Okay,
people can contact
I
you?
have my website is simply my name, TheaClark.com, or a blog, which is Thea Clark at blogspot.com.
And Sybil, what would be a way to?
It's SybilArchibald.com, and my blog is SybilArchibald.com blog, and I've been doing my blog since 2007, and it's all about the relationship between art and spirituality. So I hope
Great.
everybody
I
will
have to-
take a look at it.
I have to catch up on that. Okay. Thanks for watching, everybody. My name is Jessica Tuma, and my guests tonight for Meet the Artist are Thea Clark and Sybil Archibald. Thank you again for both coming.
Thanks for having me.
And
Thank you.
we had a great time here. And please follow these artists. They're great. They're doing some great work.